Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Mahnaz, and this podcast is for mums who want to carve out time so that you can work in ways that work for you, your life, your family, and of course your business. Together, we will discover why you are not prioritising your business and the actions that you can take so you can live an intentional, productive, and fulfilled life without mum guilt. So let's dive in to today's episode.
Welcome everyone. I have Sarah Evans with me, and this is a really exciting episode because we are talking about human design, and we're specifically talking about Sarah's chart. And this is effectively a bit of a live reveal for Sarah. So I think I'm a bit nervous. I think Sarah's a bit nervous, but you know what, Sarah, you're in safe hands, so don't worry. We'll get through this. To be really interesting, and I can't wait to hear from you. So, do you want to just introduce yourself to the listeners, Sarah?
Yeah, hi. I know that I'm in safe hands today, so it's okay. So I'm Sarah Evans. My business is the Values Connection, and I look at how we can use core values to connect to ourselves, to our work, to leadership, to everything really. So I'm a specialist in using core values in that way.
Brilliant. Yeah. Values work is so important, and I love what you do. And the reason that we are recording this session is because we work together with clients so that they can discover their values, and then I work with them to uncover their human design. And all these things are tools and elements that bring together much more a journey. I guess it's really a self-discovery journey. And the reason we decided to do this is because Sarah hasn't really done much on human design. She's not aware about really anything about it. So we thought, do you know what? I'm doing this work with clients. I'm going to do it for Sarah. And we're going to see first-hand experience. Sarah's going to be able to share with us what her insights are. So she has no idea about what her chart is or what kind of system this is. It's like a profiling system. And if you haven't already, if you listened back to my last episode, which is episode 74, I talked about what your design tells you, and that gives you a little bit of an introduction if you're particularly new to human design. And otherwise, we're just going to get going. So I am going to share Sarah's chart, and I'm going to start with just sharing I've been looking at her chart and picking out things that I have noticed, which I think will be really helpful. And I think we know when we're doing this kind of self-discovery work, we know when it feels right. And we come across things, and I'm sure you find that yourself, don't you, Sarah, with the values work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when it takes someone else to actually be able to look at you and who you are even though you're, adept at doing it for other people. And you can have that overview so that you connect the dots and you can highlight things that they understand what she's pointed out, but they haven't seen it.
Yeah. Like they've seen it, but they haven't noticed it.
Yeah.
It's been there, but they haven't really acknowledged it. And then that kind of takes us into the next level. So this is what your chart looks like. And I know you haven't seen this before, so it's a whole lot of stuff going on, but it's fine. We're going to talk through this. So the first thing I want to start with, your type, because you get a type in human design, is a generator. And there's not that many types. So you are the same as myself, a generator. You're here to do the work and to help for the greater good of humanity, because we are the builders of this world, and that is how generators operate. We have this limitless drive. But what is really beautiful to see, and this is amazing, if you look at the top right corner, there's the number 54 here. Now this, for anybody who's listening, that is your personality sun. It's usually the top right hand number, and it's the 2 digits that appear before the decimal. And there are 64 gates here, so it could be any one of those. And yours is 54, and it's exactly the same as mine.
Really?
Because we're born Yeah, we're born very close together.
Yeah.
We're only, I think, a couple of days apart.
That's right.
So, you know, this being astrology and bringing in astrology makes sense. Now, gate 54 is the gate of ambition. And this is having that relentless drive and ambition to really make that change and, you know, using that ambition for the greater good, because that's what you're here to do. And what I'm noticing on your chart is there's this definite like inner drive for you to rise up and motivate other people. And you want them to transform as well. And more than that, you're also a catalyst for action, because you have some intuitive gifts that you may or may not recognize. And again, this might be an awareness piece. But what you do with those intuitive gifts is simply translating what you know and your inner knowing into words. Now, how powerful is that? Because you are like, values are words, and you simply, like, the way I've seen your work so close that I know how you relate that back as a word. And I just thought that was incredible when I saw that.
Yeah.
And this is to create an impact and to help influence people. So the way that they see things and the way they think about things. So I'm just going to stop there and just see, like, first of all, what do you take from what I've just said there?
Yeah. Wow. Straight away. I mean, it's interesting. Like you say, we've known each other for a while now. And so you've seen these elements. I guess I understand that I've got a drive. I don't suppose I would have put it as for the greater good, because I don't think we necessarily think too far outside of ourselves in that way. But yeah, it's really nice to know that what I do can be a catalyst for other people, you know, to actually create an impact, because that's definitely what I'm driven to do. So ambition for me is about, achieving what you want to achieve, rather than, you know, I've never been ambitious to kind of hit a certain grade in a job or a certain job title or anything like that. It's more to have that impact. So that's really interesting.
I love that. And the thing that comes out for me, like, I have the 54 as well in my son, which means I've got this relentless ambition. Like, I'm here to do something. It's not about earning X amount. It's almost like having that legacy piece or having that impact. And I feel like that's something that we both definitely resonate with. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't know all your values, and we did think, well, I wonder if we can tie any of these in, but we can have this conversation as we go through. If anything comes up that you think, well, this is related to my value, then please do share, because that will be really helpful, especially for listeners to see how these two areas, like understanding your values and understanding your human design, they're compatible and they work together, and they give us, it's almost like finding different pieces of the puzzle, because they are different and they give us a slightly different aspect, but they're not completely unrelated. Like, you can usually see yourself in both, and you can see how they're related as well and how they're connecting with that. So there's, I think a couple.
I was just going to say, already on that point, you know, one of my core values is a purpose. So that, you know, everything has to have a purpose, has to have meaning. Right. That's through everything that I do. And also growth. So I want to grow myself and learn and develop, but also very much about helping other people grow. So I was a lecturer at university for many, many years. I love kind of bringing other people on. So though already I can see those two values really kind of showing up there.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's it. I think they sort of show little glimmers and all these things, and ambition doesn't mean it has to be like money orientated. To me, ambition can be that success, that drive for success, whatever that success looks like to you.
Yeah.
There's a couple of areas that I want to highlight next, which I think are really, really key in the work that you do. But these are gifts that you have that you, again, probably don't realize that you are actually so natural doing it. And I think before I go into that, I just want to say that there's 64 gates here, and we can have access by the fact that they're coloured in on this chart. You will have access to those, or you don't have access, which is open or closed. But it's not to say that you can't use them, because sometimes it comes naturally to you, and you have like lifelong experience of them being natural to you, or you have learned to do certain things. So it's not to say that you don't have this or you do have this. It's to say that these gifts that you have are like your strengths, because they just become, they come to you so easy. And you've been practicing it, whether consciously or subconsciously. You've been practicing them for your whole life without even necessarily acknowledging it. So the first one that I want to talk about is this intuitiveness is coming through in your chart. And you have this ability, and you might be able to relate to this and give me examples, but you have this clear ability that you can act quickly with clarity in order to guide yourself. And the whole guiding yourself is towards survival or well-being or something that is for good, right? And this could be something like where you just have a feeling that you need to do this, or you need to go somewhere, and things like that might have happened to you. And when you do the thing, you realize you forgot something else, or, something like that. Because you may not realize that you've got this hunch, but the hunch has kept you on track. So, and it's it's very auditory. So it's saying that this intuitiveness can also be through hearing words. And that's really interesting for me, because again, knowing what you do and knowing how you help others, and intuiting things about others through their tone. So how do you feel about that?
Oh, it's really fascinating. Yeah. So, in terms of me being guided by intuition, in my personal life, I've always been really strong with that. I think in my work life, that became a weak, it was evident that I wasn't as strong in that environment. So hence led to some really sort of difficult situations in work.
Right.
But in terms of hearing words, being able to intuit what people mean by their words, I think, again, it's really interesting, because my whole career has been around storytelling, which is hearing, is having very specific words to define an action or a feeling or an emotion. And now in coaching, you do the same thing. You listen to people, and quite quickly, you can pick up what they mean, they actually mean, or what the situation is doing to them.
There we go. And you have been practicing that in both personal and business, because naturally, I think what I would like to say here is you have naturally, knowingly or unknowingly, you have intuitively set up your business, like the business that actually makes complete sense for you. So that's what I would take away from it. How wonderful is that?
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah. That's amazing. So on your chart, you'll see this, I don't know if you can see the numbers, but 5734, this is the channel that I was just speaking about. So this almost, a channel is a bit like linking a wire, a wire connecting two different areas. And that is where I've got this one from. And there's one other one that I want to mention just briefly, which is the ability to be intimate and create connections with anyone fairly quickly. And I know, you are so easygoing and such a friendly or warm personality. You have humor in everything, even from the first time that we've spoken. I know how we've got on really, really well. And that is what is, again, an innate gift that you have of breaking down those barriers and building the connections. So when, we talk about an intimate connection, well, it takes time to build that, but you can fast track that. And I think you've probably seen that in your work as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. But it's funny because you see that as something that you just do that I enjoy as well. But
Yeah,
rather than as a gift as such, But interestingly, again, thinking about my core values and the work that I did to understand those for myself. Connection is a core value, and the way that shows up for me is things like warmth, humour, sharing, empathy. So those elements, it's really evident that connects. That shows that is part of me, and I need that to feel comfortable as much as I want to give it to other people as well.
absolutely. It's fascinating. It really is. But I think because it's something that is so, like you mentioned there, that you enjoy it and this is the way that you are. But I think we sometimes don't see the way we are because we never see ourselves. We're not looking from the outside. And I think that's wonderful about human design is it's giving us all these angles to look at ourselves, because otherwise we're inside our head and we just look outward, which is not the best view to actually appreciate truly like who we are. Now, the next bit I want to move on to is there's certain, these are amazing gifts and you have many, many, like I've just picked a few that I wanted to talk about here because I thought they really brought the essence of who you are, and we could talk about all your gifts all day and we probably wouldn't have long enough. So I want to move on now to the types that you are, because you have a profile type in human design, and this is a combination of two numbers, and the numbers are between 1 and 6, and you have a number that is at the beginning, and then you have a secondary number, if you like. So you are a 1-4. Now the 1 stands for, and again, this is going to be interesting to know which you recognize that you definitely are, and which maybe you haven't actually fully accepted. So this is going to be a great conversation because I know what it was like for myself. So you have a number 1, which is the investigator. And the investigator is, you need to seek knowledge. You need to understand everything. You need to learn. And you have this insatiable desire to absorb learning. Like I have a number 1, so I can relate to that. And like that is actually your strength, because that gives you something that you might not necessarily appreciate or realize, but that's part of your being. Like you need that in order to, the whole point of human design and the gifts are to be living an optimal life, the most effective way. So that's what this number 1 is telling you. And then number 4 is opportunist. Okay. And what that means is you are able to seek opportunities. You're able to uncover maybe hidden opportunities and potential areas and pathways for yourself. And this again might be something obvious to you, or it might be not so obvious to you. So I'd love to know if any of these are like consciously known to you.
Yeah, well, again, it's not something I would have thought about, to put into words, being opportunistic. But yes, I can see that. And even when, I'm just trying to think. So even when I've worked in organizations, I've always looked, I've never just stuck to the job, the day job, 9 to 5. I've always looked for further opportunities to develop, things to grow, for clients or students, whatever it was.
Right.
So that's really interesting. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that one, and that's interesting.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think, and the more you sit with it, it'll probably feel like you understand it better.
Yeah.
But bringing both of those things together, the investigator and the opportunist is like having that natural curiosity and the eye for detail, because you have all the knowledge, right? And you know where you need that and what you can take out. But you're using that to then uncover these opportunities as well. So it's that's the whole piece together. And what I want to share with you next is, particularly with the profile numbers, you can, as you know, with values, you have like a scale of, are you on the really positive end or the not so good end? And in human design, it's talked more about gifts, and then there's a shadow of the other side. Because when you have real natural ability for an area, you could be falling into the shadows. It doesn't mean just because you have it that you are fully 100% encompassing everything, because we're all human beings, right? And the same thing goes for all of these. So with the 1-4, what I wanted to share with that and other things that I've seen on your chart, there are things that in your design that are showing me like the things that would possibly distract you, possibly the things that would help make you go into this not so good area or this zone. And I want to talk to you about 4 things that I've uncovered. And don't worry, it's nothing harsh at all.
No, it's good.
The first one is that you can come up with endless ideas.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, there's no end to it. Yeah.
Okay. Number 2 is that this feeling of not being ready or not knowing enough, and that can really help stop you from taking that messy action.
Yeah.
Does that feel true to you?
Spot on. Oh my
Okay.
God.
Then the next one is fear of rejection. Okay, so this is a bit of that opportunist. If you are an opportunist and you're finding all these opportunities and you're in your power, in your element, the kind of downside to that is that you can also be thinking, well, what if they don't like me? What if this happens? What if that happens? And you're kind of, that fear is actually just you thinking that they might reject you, your ideas or things like that. And that can be one of the big shadows of line 4. And if would love to know if you think that's true. I mean, it doesn't have to be fully to that extent. You're feared of rejection. You may not put it that way. Well, there's something in there that's saying that could be quite easy for you to fall into because, because of all of your design and because of all of this and because you are an opportunist, you're going to see those things. And then perhaps those, eternal gremlins are going to speak to you. So what do you want to say on that?
Yeah, that is interesting. And that's something really since starting my own business that I've kind of understood more or have seen more, because you are,
Right.
it is just you, so there's no one else in any other role to rely on. So you have to do everything. So the things that, are scary or difficult, or the things that I'll do last, and leave until I absolutely have to do them.
Yeah.
And I think probably that rejection, what's interesting as well is that I think it's for me, like personally, whereas like, again, with other people, I'm a great champion. And with students, for example, as I worked with students for many, many years, there's no phone call that I wouldn't make or email that I wouldn't send or to create opportunities for them. But when it's for me, yeah, crikey, it's like becomes a huge.
How interesting is that you can see the difference?
Yeah.
Wow. And I think a lot of the time, noticing these things is really powerful. A bit, like the values work when we first, because that's the start of the journey. Like we don't ever get there until we take that first step. So that's so interesting. And thank you so much for sharing. It's really helpful and great to understand like how it can show up perhaps for other people listening too. The last one I want to share is this constant pressure that you feel from others. That, that's a consistent thing. And all 4 of these things, the way that I've summed it up is it could lead you to procrastination, avoidance, overwhelm as well, and making impulsive decisions that you regret later. You started laughing. It's
Yeah, I'm thinking about Amazon purchases that, where you think, I'm going to do this. The most recent one was, my husband knows me, obviously. So I wanted a mini trampoline, a rebounder. I was like, I'm going to get one of those in the office. Bounce for exercise while I'm listening to videos and stuff. And he, knowing me, knows that would be literally 2-minute wonder. So we haven't gone down that route, but I need to probably think about that more, outside of that, more in terms of relationships, maybe in actions. I'm not sure, but certainly the sense of overwhelm. Actually kind of makes sense to me when you look at all of these elements that are there, endless ideas and all that sort of stuff. It's easy to see why overwhelm kind of creeps in.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Well, I think sit with this, because I think this is just part one.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like what we could do is, because just for everybody to understand, is I create a summary and you will get a physical copy of, and usually I do a video with it as well to sort of share all these aspects. But because we've done this podcast and I've shared quite a lot, I might send you this PDF for you to reflect on, for you to really think about more. And once you've sort of absorbed that information, I think it might be actually really interesting to do another episode later to see how that is for you and what you've taken from it and how it feels to you, because you'll be able to make better sense of it. And I think it is this whole making sense of you, you understanding yourself. So what's your kind of last thoughts on this, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I'm really intrigued to know more. I kind of want to know what every number means in every section, because that's, seems to me really spot on.
That's your number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, that's why now you understand why I've had to go into learning about human design. That was my number one.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. And so I'm looking forward to sitting with it, but it completely feeds into my values as well. I think I can see that just, knowing what my values are and the things, because part of what we do, and I know you've done it when we look at core values, similar to human design, it's not just one word, the value, you look at the meaning of that to you and the strengths and weaknesses associated with that value. So I can see all of those connections just from what you've given me today, which is really fascinating. Yeah.
Were you expecting this, Sarah?
I didn't really know what to expect.
Absolutely.
No.
But I think that would be wonderful to know, because you don't know much about human design. So it would be great if anybody's listening who hasn't, even embarked on it, or they know about it, but they don't know enough.
Yeah.
What would you say?
I think that actually talking about it and having you to sort of translate what looked like a very, scientific, mathematical kind of image, which to me is immediately is oh gosh, I don't know what that is. So having you translate that into something that's really simple and meaningful, and you can understand it straight away, and then think about how you can then use that to improve things or, build on things going forward, I think is really, it's fascinating. It's like everything. It needs that human touch, doesn't it? It needs that human explanation for people to actually be able to use it, because that is fascinating. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so happy that you have taken some insights, because what I find with human design and what I found in my own journey is that you get some instant insights, and then you get ones that, you're going to take time to it's like building blocks, it's slowly piecing it all together. And it's not about knowing everything. It's really, there are always key elements. And I very much focus on that with my human design work, is that you don't need to know everything, but just if you looked at if you were to start your journey, there's only a few areas that you need to start with. And if you get those right and you stay on the right side there, you are already like embracing and, kind of standing in your power and working with your strengths more and more, rather than, having this friction and conflict and all these things going on, both internally and externally, because what happens internally usually is represented outside as well. So what a wonderful conversation, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here. I would love all the listeners, if you don't know much about values and the work that Sarah does, we have recorded 3 episodes, episodes 71, 72 and 73, and they are available on my website. So if you go to buildwithboundaries.com and just go to the free resources, there's a whole page with 3 of these videos that you'll be able to watch, and they're very short videos as well, giving you more information. So if you've got a number 1 in you, then you will definitely love that. And it will give you more insights into, again, values is quite similar to human design. It's a tool, but we need to understand it, and having somebody to guide us and to interpret that so that it makes sense is really key. So thank you so much for being here, Sarah. I hope that it's been helpful for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.